Making money as a music producer or artist is not impossible, but it is competitive. And if you think the money only comes from streams, then I have some news for you. Okay, look, let's be real. Making music is really fun, and it's no surprise that with how technology has been advancing, the barriers to entry for making music, like making good music, has dropped drastically to the point where all you need in order to make the next banger is a laptop and a dream. I mean, of course, it actually takes quite a bit more than that, but we're romanticizing here. But interestingly enough, a Rolling Stones article reported recently that musicians get on average only 12% of all of their streaming royalties, which at first sounds pretty ludicrous if you think about it. But keep in mind, this is reporting on all the extremes of the spectrum when it comes to music distribution. And some very large label and syndication/publication deals can in fact yield very low returns when it comes to streaming royalties. And I know this because I'm a full-time tour manager, so I travel and oversee all the production, finances, lodging, performance, routing, SFX, VIP, merchandise aspects of a variety of international bands, artists, musicians, DJs, etc. And if you want to learn more about sort of me and what I do, I just posted an official how to get into touring 101 course. Honestly, I kind of hate that I'm promoting a course, but it's a thing and people have been pretty receptive to it so far. I'll have a link to that in the description below if you want to check it out. As well as, I should say, I also came from a background of about 10 years in music distribution as well as large event production. I've seen many ways that artists have learned to maximize their revenue. And today I want to share some of those learnings and ideas with you. Now, as you generate questions or thoughts, please put them down in the comments. I will be reading those and I would love to give additional feedback there. And also be sure to follow the page if you want to see more industry topics like this. And here's a little bit of a hook bit. If you stay until the end of this video, I will share what I consider to be the quickest and easiest way to start making money as a music producer or as an artist. And it's not streaming, I promise. Okay, let's get into it. I just want to say that I feel like it's important for me to talk about streams in this context because, again, it's important to understand how streams play into an artist's overall total revenue model or revenue machine. Because obviously artists need to make their music accessible, which means they have to be on streaming platforms, which means that there is going to be stream revenue happening at some point. In general, royalty payouts for streams are very low per song. I'm not going to give you an exact number because each platform is different and the numbers sort of change. But what this means for you as an artist or as a music producer is that it's all about scale. And scale means you need millions upon millions of streams to make any amount of significant money. Keep in mind, those streams can be residual. A very big topic in the music industry is what's the shelf life of a song? How long can a song realistically expect to perform on the charts? And I think we've been seeing that it's kind of hard to predict because of things like the nostalgia factor. You could have music from the early 2000s that had its moments and then died out. And then for whatever reason, through TikTok trends or just, videos online, they've resurfaced, which has caused a resurgence in those streams. So just remember, it's all about scale. You need to have a lot of streams. If you're releasing music yourself today on DistroKid, sure, you're going to get the majority of the royalties. They're going to take their, membership fee, whatever the case may be, and it's a wrap. Once you get into the professional world, it gets a lot more convoluted. Typically, when there is stream revenue generated, first it gets diluted at the distributor level. Then it gets diluted at the collaborator and the staffing level if there are multiple writers, if there's, if there's songwriters, if there's instrumentalists, if there's a collaborating artist. Then usually it breaks down into the management team. And then finally, it'll make its way down to the artist. But keep in mind, the management team I mentioned can include a lot of different people. It can include your agency. It can include the label you're with. It can include your day-to-day management. By the time the revenue from royalties actually gets to the artist, it really could be only 12%. But 12% of 1 million is $120,000. And if that's a monthly amount that you're making, that comes out to about 1.4 million yearly. But again, that's all scale. It's all big scale. Now with streams and royalties, I will briefly touch on the pros, the performance rights organizations like ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, who are required to pay out royalties to artists. And in fact, typically they are responsible for collecting royalties for music that is performed in sort of live environments where it's difficult to track that there has been a conversion of a stream. For example, if you go to like a festival, a music festival, and there are DJs playing out other people's music, how do the people that made those songs get the royalties? How do they get paid for that? And the answer is through the performance rights organizations. So coming from the event world myself, every single festival we ever do, we have to pay out a certain amount of money from each show, which is usually based on a ticket count, to these performance rights organizations, who then are responsible for paying out to the artists that had their music played at the shows. In fact, we recently had a performance rights organization's attorney come and give a presentation at one of our Storytime Studio workshop events. Storytime is my record label, and we do all kinds of like free and paid online workshops for musicians, which if you want to see that video, it's completely free and it's on YouTube, where we actually talk to the attorney and he shares his opinions and feedbacks about streams and royalties. I'll have a link to that on this video here as well. And again, we're talking $1 million from streams. With the amount that a stream pays out, that is a lot of streams. So the most common way for artists to make any amount of serious money is from shows. It's from shows and or specifically touring. And in most cases, when they do these shows, they get what's called a guarantee. They get a flat rate of money for the performances. And in some deals, there are also bonus structures. So depending on how a show performs, they could actually earn additional money on top of that. Now, some important things to remember about shows and performance. Touring finances are heavily weighted on costs such as renting a bus, renting the transportation means, paying for the staff that you travel with. You have to pay for all the travel, you have to pay for the lodging, you have to pay for production if you're bringing staging, SFX, lasers, CO2, pyro, whatever. Those costs can really add up. It gets very expensive. This is usually where like management will come in, or like a solid tour manager will come in and create like a budget forecast for a tour, which is what I do for all of my bands and artists that I'm with, that show us how much money we expect to make, sort of like the high and the low options of what we could realistically make from this tour. And I have to put in like a shameless plug. If you want to ask me questions about that, or like run through a possible tour that you are thinking, I do have contact info in my on my channel bio. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to share my thoughts. Now, when it comes to sort of building a tour and like looking at how much you can get paid for being on tour, you really need an agent. You need an agent who is well connected and with one of the top agencies like a Wasserman or a United or a Spin or a CAA, because their job is to package you up and sell you to these promoters and venues around the world for the highest cost possible. Because ultimately, if they can get you more money as an agent, their commission goes up. Typically, agents will work off of the artist commission. And if they believe in you, then they're going to be much more excited and interested to like promote you to these other venues or buyers around the world, which will make you have more gigs, which just brings up your total amount of touring revenue possible. When I say $10,000 for a show, like as like a flat rate guarantee, that is really on the low side. Like that is a very low guarantee for a lot of relatively successful artists, and there are a lot of them out there. A good agent will be able to get you easily $20, $30, $40, $50, maybe even over $100,000 per show. That's per performance. Now, if you multiply that by 30 dates on a tour, how much are you looking at? So before you get too excited, just remember again, I mentioned at the beginning of the section that there are also a lot of costs that go into putting on a tour. Tour buses, for example, in my experience, they rent out anywhere from $600 to $1,200 a day. And that's before fuel, that's before crew, it's before a driver, and that's not including like overdrives or trailers attached, etc. Then you have staffing fees, you have travel fees, you have merchandise, which includes like the cost of goods. There are a lot of fees that go into touring. Actually, that could be a good topic for another video. If you are interested in a video about touring finances or like a deeper dive into how the finances work, let me know in the comments because I could definitely do that. The third way to make money as a music producer or an artist, in my experience as a tour manager, is merchandise. Merchandise is a very flexible product for artists or producers, and it's not limited to just like t-shirts or like an online store, right? To me, merchandise represents all of the various hard goods that an artist can sell to their fans. So if we are talking about like t-shirts or like typical merchandise, shirts, hats, that sort of thing, it's usually a good idea to start by finding a good distributor. Somebody who can sell you a shirt or have a cost of goods per item of like $4. And that's in the USA. It's different in every country. I'm in the US, so that's like what I base my numbers off of. And $4, I will say, is pretty low, like in terms of quality. If you want nicer quality, you're going to be more in like the 9 to 20 range or so. This is per t-shirt, by the way. Different items have different cost of goods. Now, when you're actually on the road and you are selling merchandise, you typically want to have a cost per head of $8 or more to be decent. That means that on average of all the people at your show, you're making about $8 per person on merchandise, which again is kind of on like a lower side. I've done shows where we're up in like the $15 to $20 range per head, and it could go even higher depending on how much appeal or how much like interest people actually have in your merchandise. But you can do the scaling math from there, right? If you have a show with 1,000 people and you know you're getting $8 per head, like on average, how much does that actually turn out to be for you, right? You would have to just compare that against your cost of goods, how much it costs to produce the merchandise, to ship the merchandise, to maybe pay the seller, to pay the venue fees, to pay tax, etc. I would say though that like when it comes to merchandise, try to think bigger than just like t-shirts and hats and socks. Like merchandise can be anything and everything that you can sell to your fans that relate to your band or to your music production project or to your, you know, whatever. For example, one thing I've seen artists sell is like lyric sheets. So like they will actually write out their song lyrics for people for like a special price because it's one of a kind. Like the artist wrote that just for them. Or in some cases, like at the end of a tour, a band will sell off of their instruments because maybe they're from overseas. They don't want to travel with their guitars. So they'll just sell them, you know, and that could be sold with a signature for twice the amount that it would actually be worth retail. The fourth way to make money as a music producer or artist is to get into social brand deals. This is actually a very lucrative model if you are in the right position to use it. Basically, as an artist, you are a brand, and the more notoriety you have, the more eyes you have on you, the more that businesses want to leverage your visibility to promote their brands. Some of the classic examples include like, you know, the Kanye West deal with Adidas, or like 50 Cent with his vodka, which, you know, obviously he owned before he sold it, but still like there's like a partnership there between the artist brand and like a physical product that is leveraging the artist's reputation. I think this is probably a relatively well understood side of making money for artists, but I mean, if you've never heard of it, it is quite lucrative. There are some concerns though when it comes to working with brands. Specifically, the first one that comes to mind is to not oversaturate yourself with too many brands. Remember that your fans are there for you. They are following you because of who you are. They want to hear your music and see your personality. They're not coming to you as like a billboard. Like you don't want to be a billboard to them advertising for all these other companies. You want to be yourself. But if there is a strategic partnership or opportunity, then it could make sense to partner with a company like that. Social brand deals also sort of translate into free stuff, like free stuff for tour. I know a lot of music artists who have sponsorship deals with the different instrument providers. Drummers will almost always have a sponsorship deal, and they'll get free sticks, free drum heads, sometimes free snares, free whatever. And bands can use that to bring down the cost of the tour so they make more money on the guarantees, or they can sell those things off after they've played with them to make even more money. So there's a lot of like steps here, a lot of different ways to maximize that revenue. The fifth way for how to make money as a music producer or artist, and this is really for the producers specifically, is to get into session work and ghost production. Basically, if you are good at what you do, if you are a really great guitar player or a really great producer, you can make some really incredible beats, you can sell your work for other people to use. Whether it's like the full track or maybe just like one instrument in one song type thing, there is ways to make money there. If you are a person who makes beats, I have a lot of friends who make a lot of money from BeatStars. They create these custom beats, instrumentals, put them on there, and then musicians come through and buy them from them, or buy like creative licensing to use those beats. It's nice because this does introduce like an ongoing sales model, kind of like a passive income model, because your beats can get reused or purchased multiple times, depending on how you have your like Creative Commons licenses offered. Session musicians are also a really great way to start making money in the industry. If you can play an instrument very well, you can sit in on a recording session and get paid a flat fee to like play a guitar part for a couple hours for somebody in a track. And then if that ends up making it into the track, then you could also get royalties on top of that. So you can kind of like stack your revenue opportunities. And the last way to start making money as a producer or a music artist is to get into content creation. And this is different than like the brand deals. This is specifically for you as an artist to have your own content brand. Artists are just like influencers in the sense of like they have some sort of brand leadership online. They have a following of people, and they can then tap into the different payment methods or payment options that platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Twitter are offering. And this is basically like, posting a bunch of videos that you make and getting paid for like ads placed on your videos, or like series content on TikTok or whatever. There's a couple ways to use this to like relatively successful returns. The first one is educational material. Educational material is very useful. Like, people love watching videos of, an artist or a band or a producer making some music. And if you can sort of get into a trend or a style of doing those videos, you can get hundreds of thousands of followers, and then the platforms will start paying you for that visibility. Cameos is actually a really great strategy as well. Cameos is basically a platform where you can sell customized one-of-a-kind videos to people's requests. This works great for like established artists, where somebody can like ask the lead singer of a band to sing happy birthday to their sister, and they usually charge like $200 to $500 just for a short little video like that. So I'd say overall, there are many ways to make money as a music producer or as a music artist that aren't just royalties. Royalties are always going to be there, but a good artist with some help from like agency management, such as myself, will be able to maximize on all of these revenue models to make the most amount of money possible. And actually, once you get to that point where you can have a team that helps you make more money, it's like you're already in the green, because not only do you have people supporting you, they want to make more money because that means they get paid more money. And then you as the artist get more time to do what you probably want to do, which is be an artist. And my secret tip, if you stayed until the end, for like how to start making money as a musician now, it's really a way to sort of get started quickly. I wouldn't say it's like necessarily the fastest path to money right like today, like you can't get paid today for it, but it's like the quickest way to really start snowballing that following so that you can make money. And that is, once you already have some music published, to start engaging with larger artists on social media, but specifically through the content creation strategy, like TikTok duets, for example, where you can like sing along with an artist in the same video, or you can, play a beat to an artist singing in the same video. Because if we look back on all the different strategies we've talked about today about making more money and like collaborating, this collaboration will help you tap into their community. It'll tap into their followers, because A, you'll get more visibility, and if you do a good job, you can get some really quality followers from it. But B, if that artist sees that you've done that and they're into it, they could immediately, repost, retweet, whatever, which is like the bare minimum, because then you get the views, which makes the brand deals more lucrative, which then trickles down into the streams and the merch. But if you do a really good job and you start forming these relationships, they could invite you on tour. And once you are on tour, then you are like, takeoff mode, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real. So there you have it. Those are several ways to make money as a music producer or artist, according to me. I'm a music tour manager. There are other strategies out there. I don't want to say that these are the only strategies that exist. These are the ones that I have the most proximity to in my career and that I've seen be most successful for people. If you found this helpful, or if you have any questions or comments, please put them down below this video. I would love to check those out and answer any questions you may have. Likewise, if you do want to consult with me for any touring or music revenue work, I do have contact info in my YouTube channel bio. And be sure to check out the Final Advance website. There are blogs on there. There's that How to Get Into Touring 101 course, which is super helpful if you want to be involved in like the back end of touring. And of course, please follow the channel. It really does help spread the word. And I am trying to keep making more videos like this. So appreciate your support. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.